I'm Sergeant Vincent Shirey, and I have the honor of introducing a fierce advocate of defensive driving. In 2007, Kimberly Schlau was devastated by the death of her two daughters, Jessica and Kelly. They were killed in a car crash caused by an Illinois state trooper who drove distracted. Kimberly now travels the country to keep her daughters' memories alive and spread awareness of the dangers of distracted driving. Please devote your full attention to Kimberly's story.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Schlau. Today I'm here to talk to you about three things that mean the world to me. So if you would for just a moment, imagine the most important people in your life. And now I'm going to tell you about mine. This is my daughter Jessica. She was 18 years old. She had just graduated from high school and she was attending a local college. She wanted to go into marketing. She wanted to be in public relations and advertising. I think she would have been amazing at it. She was one of those kids who could go into a room and walk out with a lot of new friends. She loved to talk to people. Even as a young baby, I remember taking her into the grocery store, and she would always say hi to all the people in the grocery store and make them smile. She was never shy. She had a huge personality. When she was born, she was the first grandchild on both sides, and she was a little bit spoiled. So when we told her that she was getting a brother or sister, she asked me to bring her home a sister because she didn't know what to do with a brother. So I brought her home her little sister Kelly, and she was so excited to finally have someone to play with. It was like having a live baby doll for Jessica to play with Kelly. She had a great time helping me. She didn't worry about me asking her to change diapers or help me feed Kelly for a minute while I could grab a quick shower. She loved being a little mom. This is her sister Kelly. Kelly was 13 years old. She was a cheerleader. She was a National Honor Student. She was in 8th grade. And she was about 45 days or so from her 14th birthday. And she was also really close to getting her braces off. She wanted to be a vet when she grew up. She had a huge heart, and she hated to see stories about animals being abused. Her dream job was actually to open up a combination dog grooming and ice cream store. So you could drop your dog off, go have some ice cream, and then come back and have a nice clean dog. Because to Kelly, happiness was a clean dog and a bowl of ice cream. And so a few years later, they get a little sister, and they get Madeline. Jessica was happy to have a little sister because now it gave her an excuse to drive more. She could take Madeline to school, or she could take Madeline to the park. It also gave Kelly someone to beat on and do all of the things that Jessica had been doing to her all of those years. But even though they always beat on each other and tortured each other and made fun of each other like sisters do, they loved each other so very much. And they were each other's first friends, and they continued to be friends all their lives. This is Madeline's favorite picture of her and her sisters. It was taken about 6 months before they were killed. And in this picture, Jessica is about a week from graduating high school. Kelly is going to her first high school dance later, and this is at Maddie's first communion. Maddie's laughing, and I never really knew why until the day that we were getting ready to go to the funeral home to take all of the photos up. And Maddie brought it to me, and she said, "Mommy, can we take this one up?" And I said, "Sure." And I said, "Let me ask you why you're laughing so hard in this picture. I've always wanted to know." And she said, "It's because Jessica and Kelly pinched my butt when you took the picture, and it made me laugh." And I said, "That explains it." So looking at Jess and Kelly's faces, you can't really tell that they're doing anything devious to their sister, but Maddie's face is pretty much letting you know that they are. But this is Maddie's memories of her sisters, that even though they were torturing her, they were making her laugh, and they were doing it with love. So up until that day in November, this was my family. It was the four of us. Jessica was going to college, carrying a full course load and working 3 jobs. Kelly was a cheerleader, so she had practices and games. Maddie played softball and soccer, so she was busy. I was working full-time as a paralegal. We were busy, but I always wanted to make sure that at least once a week, we all sat down and had dinner together. because in this world, the most important thing that you will ever have is your family. This is the last picture that we have of Jessica and Kelly. It was taken just a couple of hours before they were killed. They left my house on the morning of Friday, November 23rd, 2007. They were going to their dad's house to have family pictures taken with their dad. Now I heard them leave the next morning, but I didn't get up. And I really regret now that I didn't get up and tell them goodbye and I love them and hug them one more time. They left their dad's house around 11:30, and as they were returning to my house, an Illinois state trooper was finishing up a traffic stop. He was approximately where the number 1 is in the upper left-hand corner. As he was finishing up that traffic stop, he heard dispatch talk about a crash with potential injuries and entrapment at Route 4 and Stein Road, which was not far from where Jessica and Kelly's dad lived. Jessica and Kelly were leaving from where the number 2 is in the lower right corner. The trooper was actually overhearing dispatch give that call to another trooper who was closer in proximity. However, this trooper decided that he wanted to take that call. He was actually headed westbound on the interstate, so he had to go down another couple of miles to turn around and head back to the crash. At that point, he was about 22 miles from the crash. It's the Friday after Thanksgiving, which is a big shopping day. So there's a lot of traffic on this road. As he's responding, he takes a phone call from his girlfriend. She wanted to tell him about a bike that she had bought for their daughter at the after Thanksgiving sales. As he's approaching the intersection of Interstate 64 and Highway 158, where the number 3 is in the middle of the screen, he realizes that he's not exactly sure where he's headed, so he uses his onboard computer, his MDC, to email for directions. As he's approaching that intersection, he claims that a white car drifted into his lane, causing him to swerve. When he swerved, he lost control of the car and left the roadway and went through the median. When he went through the median, he hit a culvert pipe that was sticking out that sent his car airborne. He wound up under the 158 overpass. And as you can see, the exhaust system from his car is actually in front of his car. And this is what's left of Jessica's car. When he hit that culvert pipe and he went airborne, he drove through the top of Jessica's car, killing her and her sister. So a little after 3, I hear the phone ring, and it's her work, and she's not there. And they said that they hadn't heard from her. And I said, well, I'll try to call her cell phone, and I'll let you know what's going on. But as I opened my front door and I looked through my storm door, I saw 2 Illinois State Troopers and an Illinois State Police car in my driveway. And I saw a gentleman with a green jacket on that said coroner, and I saw a gentleman with a green jacket that said chaplain. And I didn't want to open my front door. I had a brief thought that maybe there had been a crash and maybe the coroner wasn't there for me. Maybe he was just along to let me, with the officers before they went to the other family. But I opened my door and they came in and they asked me if I owned a white Mazda, and I said yes. And they asked me what the license plate was, and I said, I think there's a 7 in it. I don't remember, but what's going on? Where are my daughters? What's going on? And they asked me who would have been in the car with Jessica. And obviously, as you can tell from the photos of the cars, that their bodies were rendered completely unrecognizable from this crash. They actually were only able to identify Kelly through her braces. And as we were standing in my foyer, I have a table there that I keep all of their school pictures on. And I had gestured to that table and I said, Jessica was with her sister Kelly. And then Madeline came up behind me to see who was at the door, and one of the officers took Madeline into her room, and the other officer told me that at approximately noon An Illinois state trooper was responding to a call, lost control of his car, and crossed the median and hit Jess's car, killing her and her sisters. Because at that time, that was the information that they knew. And that information made it sound like this was a crash that, unfortunately, due to what law enforcement has to do, they have to drive fast sometimes, and unfortunately, things like this happen. But as the investigation would start, and as the days and weeks and months and years would pass, we would learn more and more information that told us that this crash was completely preventable. Now again, Maddie was 8 when her sisters were killed, and it was very hard on her, and it really changed her personality, and it made her very distrustful of authority, especially police. And I hated to see that, because I always raised my daughters the way I was raised. You don't judge a collective group by the actions of one. Every person deserves to be judged on their own merits. And as tough as it was for Maddie, she really struggled with that in light of what happened with her sisters. But I think that she's starting to heal, and I think that she is starting to go back to her old self. I've noticed it in the last couple of years, and I think the more that she's able to travel with me and the more that she's able to meet great police officers, the more that that's going to help her. But I know that she is getting better, because she told me last Thanksgiving that she wants to be a police officer when she grows up. The below 100 tenets are very simple. Wear your seatbelt, wear your vest, watch your speed, what's important now, and to remember that complacency kills. We'll never know how many lives have been saved. We'll never know, but I like to think that at least one was, because no life is worth losing over something so preventable as watching your speed, wearing your seatbelt, and driving safely.